Hello and welcome to the We All Follow podcast. My name is Matt Fox. I'm your host today. Today we have Premier League royalty in the house. The only referee to have ever given cancer a red card. Mark Halsey, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, guys.
You well, mate? You good?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Yeah, been very busy in the last week, as you most probably gather, with decisions and wrong decisions.
Some media appearances, one might say. Also, we have our regularly returning peasants, Nigel and Sean Miller. Welcome back, boys.
Good. How's it going?
It's going great. So let's jump right into the format. We'll have some questions for you, Mark, here in a little bit. But first, we are going to get started by introducing our guest. Follow us on X at We All Follow Pod, of course. Like and subscribe. Mark was a Premier League referee from 1999 to 2013. As I said, he gave the red card to cancer. He also refereed the 2007 Community Shield as well as the 2008 EFL Cup final. And I think what might be one of the most interesting parts of his resume, refereeing the 1998 Second Division playoff final, which is notable because Yo-Yo Club Manchester City was promoted on that day.
Hey, hang on, can I come in there? There's a yellow card there for you because I was a FIFA referee as well. So there's the first yellow of the afternoon.
Apologies, Mr. Halsey. I do apologize for that. So here on the We All Follow podcast, Mark, we have what we call the moment of the week. So that can be from any league. Typically, we cover the Premier League and Champions League when it's happening, but it can be from any league. You know, I know that there was no notable refereeing decisions that took place this week, so it can be non-referee related for you. But why don't you go ahead and take the first moment of the week?
What, myself?
Yep, go ahead.
First moment of the week. I think it was for me. It was last night. Obviously, seeing all the British clubs qualifying for the Champions League next stage. I think that's got to be absolutely fantastic for British football.
Yeah, I agree.
It was a big night in the Champions League. Nigel, what do you got for me for your moment of the week?
I've gone quite rogue for my moment of the week this week. My moment of the week was the dullest moment of the week. The dullest moment of the week was sitting and watching Burnley versus Leeds United because there weren't no Monday night Premier League football. I sat and watched that, and it was that boring. It had sent a glass eye to sleep. I mean, the first shot on target was in the 74th minute. The teams finished with one shot on target each. I mean, I saw someone on X said that there was a bloke in a wheelchair next to him in the ground, and he got up and walked out at half time.
I've got to say, nice. If QPR had beat Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday, I would come on and say QPR beat Sheffield Wednesday, but we didn't.
Could have done that. But yeah, that was the moment of the week for me. The non-moment of the week was the most boring football match I've ever seen. I mean, if you're a Burnley fan, you've had 7 0-0s at home so far this season. If you've got season tickets, 7 0-0s. Terrible.
Yeah, that might be a rough way to spend every week. I mean, championship, you're playing Thursdays and Sundays as well, right? So you got 2 games a week to go to, and it's not going to be a good time. Sean, moment of the week?
I think for me, it's pretty easy. Bournemouth 5-0 over Nottingham Forest. Tara with the hat trick. And really, look, they're but for a couple of decisions, it's 6 or 7-0. And, that's the kind of match that could start to tank, a Nottingham Forest team who's had so many, look, they hadn't lost in forever. They've been playing so well, but in a game like that, when you just come out and just get absolutely demolished, it's going to be interesting to see if they just say, look, it was just a bad performance. We got to turn the page and don't ever go back to that game. Don't even look at, don't look at the tape of it. Don't burn the DVD. Or if that's something that maybe starts their downfall and their descent, out of the top 4, out of the top 6. But Bournemouth, look, they were fantastic. I was stunned. I was actually stunned watching it that it ended up like that.
Big result for Bournemouth, who host Liverpool this weekend. So you might think that my moment of the week would be the absurd and preposterous sending off of Miles Lewis-Skelly in the Wolves Arsenal game. However, Nigel, how many games were played yesterday in the Champions League?
18. And if Scott Hanson was there, he would have had the Deco Octobox on. Deco Octobox, all 18 games on the screen at the same time.
18 matches at the same time. And Nigel, I couldn't tell you the name of any of the referees. And that is my moment of the week.
I could.
Yeah.
Go on.
Michael Oliver was one at Barcelona.
Well, I was going to say,
and Clement Turpin was one as well.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Trossard's dad was doing
Turpin.
Villa Celtic.
My daughter said they look the same. Trossard and Turpin.
Yeah. Well, Trossard's dad was at Villa Park and he got every decision right. I can't fault him. And the referee who Arsenal had, and I can't even remember his name, and I was watching the game, he got every decision right, including booking Sterling for a dive. I mean, it's not hard, is it? Well, it must be hard because you've got to be a professional to do it. But we don't know any of the names apart from the ones who we know because they're famous.
Yeah, it was a nondescript evening for the referees in Europe, which has been the standard for some time being. And that brings us into our first segment. Nigel, did you want to go ahead with the first question for Mark? It's thanks for coming on, Mark. It's just great to be able to grab your insight and how it works behind the scenes. What no one really knows, but really, it's something what the public never really see, what football fans never see. I mean, it's funny we're on about it. So I said Mark's one of my favourite referees ever because I was at Villa Park when you let us take that quick free kick, when you quickly stumbled out of the way and let Thierry zip on in the bottom corner.
It was allowed in them days. It was one of those. It was one of those things that you ask the attacker, "Do you want to take a quick free kick?" And if they say, "Yeah," you let them. Now, the onus is on the defending team to get back and defend and switch on. But interestingly, after that incident, we then delayed. He said, "There's no more ceremonial free kicks. You can't take ceremonial free kicks, quick ceremonial free kicks around in and around the penalty area." Yeah.
Because it was then a question of do you want a wall, wasn't it? To be.
That's right. Yeah.
We've got a few questions. So, the main one is, and I think this is the one what really has got everyone in a fluster was, Michael Oliver gives a red card on the field. It's obviously a wrong decision. Why didn't VAR overturn it? Because that's surely what VAR's there for. And it's the same person on VAR, and I noticed this straight away, same person on VAR who didn't correct the incorrect Luis Diaz offside goal last year, Spurs versus Liverpool down in England.
Yeah, listen, look, when I was watching the game live, and because as I say, I have a few screens and I'm watching all the games, and when I first saw
Spanish benefits, Mark.
Yeah. When I first saw the incident, I went straight away, yellow card. And my daughter, she loves football, and she was watching it as well. She went, "Dad, yellow card." And I went, "Yeah, yellow card." When the red card came out, I was surprised. I couldn't, listen. The referee has a split decision, a split second to make that decision. And listen, there's no blame attached to Michael because you see what you see, and straight away it tells you. You sort of instantly say to yourself, because you try and replay back that challenge, and you're saying to yourself, "That's a yellow card, that's a red card." So Michael must have seen the angle. He didn't, or must have had the angle where he thought that that's a red card. Now, a lot of people have put still photos on social media of that challenge. You can't go by still photographs. That doesn't tell the story. So Michael's given a red card, and if you look at everybody's in amazement. All the players are in amazement. That's the red card. My beef with that lies solely at Darren England. Now, if we look at Law 12, fouls and misconduct, okay, a careless challenge is a free kick, nothing else, no card. A reckless challenge is a free kick and a yellow card. A challenge or a lunge from the front, from the side, from the back with 1 or 2 feet that endangers a player's safety with excessive force and brutality must be sanctioned with a red card. Now, for me, that challenge didn't meet that criteria in law. So if I'm sitting there watching that challenge and you're seeing the replays and you know it's not a red card, what on earth is Darren England doing at Stockley Park? Because he must be, as a referee, as a top referee, you've got to know law. You have to know your law. And so, listen, I mean, questions need to be asked of Darren England. What on earth was he? What was he looking at? And also, questions have to be asked because all the furore that's come after this, with the PGMOL and the Matchday Centre putting out these statements about it was a correct decision, it was a serious foul play challenge. It wasn't. So you've got to look at it, and I think the PGMOL created all this furore after the incident, with all these stupid statements that they put out. They've ignited it when everybody can see it wasn't a serious foul play challenge. So I think, again, we've got to look at the training education of our officials. We've got some really good officials out there. We've got some good young referees coming through. But for me, Howard Webb's got to grow some balls. He's inherited a lot of coaches, for me, and obviously people below him, that are just not good enough in the training and education of our referees. And it comes down to the leadership and direction of the management and the coaches. Listen, it's all about managing the game, managing the players. How many times do you watch a game, right, and all of a sudden the level's going up and up and up and up and up and up, and the referees don't deal with it? Referees, when the intensity goes up, the referees have to go up with it, and then they've got to start bringing it back down and slowing the game down. So they don't lose control. Because when that intensity goes up, you've got a great chance of losing control of the game. And so for me, you can referee with common sense, but it comes within the management structure of the leadership and direction of our referees.
Nigel, just very quickly, just in the last 35 minutes, Arsenal FC had been charged after its players surrounded a match official during the Premier League fixture against Wolverhampton Wanderers FC on Saturday, 20th January. So that just happened in the last 30 minutes. That's
always going to happen on every game. There's loads of clubs. I mean, listen, you don't condone it, but it's always happening. It's always happening. So clubs are always going to be charged with failing to control their players.
Yeah, it's a wild inability of these folks to read the room, right? It's like, read the room, guys. You got it wrong. It's okay. You made a mistake. But why do we have to double and triple down on these things? That's the thing I think for me is like, I'm like you said, Mark, when the decision came down, I was incredulous. I was flabbergasted. I couldn't form words. It was 5 o'clock at 5 something in the morning here. I woke up at 4:30 to watch the game. And I could not believe what my eyes were seeing. And that's what everybody saw, right? And so when you have such an egregious mistake that's unanimously overturned, why do we have to double and triple down on these mistakes? Why can't we just admit that we were wrong? And I think that's the thing for fans is like, I guarantee you that Michael Oliver went in at halftime and saw that challenge, right? I guarantee it. There's no way.
I guarantee you, if Michael Oliver was afforded a review at the monitor, he would have cancelled the red card and issued a yellow card.
That's exactly what I couldn't understand why Darren England didn't just send him to the monitor and say, make your own mind up. If he then doubles down on his own decision, says, I'm sticking with a red card, it's all on him then. Darren England can say, look, I sent him to a monitor.
That's right, yeah. And then you would say, you would most probably wouldn't agree with it, but then you'd respect that Michael's gone over and had a second look. Listen, for me, Darren England is at fault. As I say, we all make split-second decisions and on the field of play, even myself over my career, and you have to you live or die by it, and you have to accept it. But I just wish that VAR was around when I was refereeing. And I have to say, if I was refereeing that game, if I was Michael Oliver and I saw that challenge and I wasn't recommending a review, I'd be absolutely furious.
Just nipping away from, I know Matt's brought up the stats, and it shows like Michael Oliver's how high his red card count and penalty count is against Arsenal compared to everyone else. It's like double the amount of any other team, which I know it's a bit weird how it's double the amount of everyone, which is a bit strange. But you just touched on it there, Mark, about how you probably would have you'd have liked it if VAR was around in your time. I mean, one question what I had was, and I grew up watching football, 80s, 90s, etc. I know Uriah Rennie quite well. I've played a bit of golf with Uriah and his brother up in Sheffield and stuff like
that. What, does he play golf then, Yuri?
He's not very good.
Like his refereeing then.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He's a big guy.
He's a good lad. He's a great lad, Yuri. Great lad.
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say, why do you think the standard of refereeing has dropped since the days of yourself, Jeff Winter, Yuri? I mean, even Howard Webb himself was a good referee. Why?
Listen, I mean, I've touched on it before. I mean, me and Howard are good friends. I have to say that when Howard took over, he contacted me if I could be part of his coaching setup, and I said, "Listen, I'll jump at it, but I'm still waiting for that second phone call." Listen, look, I've touched on it, and for me, Howard comes in, he takes over from Mike Riley, who's put in a load of yes men and filled roles for when knowing that he's going. And Howard's come in. It's like, for me, it's like any manager that's sacked and they go, the backroom team goes with them. The new manager comes in. He brings a whole new bunch of backroom staff, coaches, nutrition, sports scientists, and everything. And for me, that should have been the same with Howard Webb. We've got people in positions, we've got coaches, we've got assessors, we've got managerial people in positions where, for me, they're just not good enough. Listen, I was on the list with a chap called Lee Mason.
No.
Hang on. Yeah, so Lee Mason gets removed from the. Listen, Lee's a lovely guy, Lee, but he gets removed from the referees list because of poor performances. So then he gets put into the VAR at Stockley Park. He then gets removed from that because obviously he's made some mistakes. And now he gets appointed as the development manager of referees for the PGMOL.
He's a bloke who forgot to draw the lines for Brentford's offside goal against Arsenal.
So there's many other coaches in place at the present. And for me, they're just not up to scratch. Yeah. And it's the way you lead the referees, the way you coach the referees, and manage them. It's like managing a dressing room. It's no different from having players to having referees. And I just think, as I say, we've got really good referees, young referees out there, but I think they're being poorly managed and poorly led. Going back onto Michael Oliver. Listen, look, for me, he's still our best referee, by far our best referee on that list. And we all make mistakes. We all have off days. Everybody has an off day. Players lose form and have in different performances, and that's no different to referees. If you look at their schedule, I mean, if you look at Michael, his schedule from Saturday. So he's refereeing Wolves. He lives up in Newcastle. He's refereeing Wolves Arsenal. He's got to get back home, get prepared, pack his bags to fly out to Barcelona for the Champions League on the Tuesday. Referees the game on Wednesday. Flies back today. Gets back home, most probably late tonight. Get ready tomorrow. He's got to get himself down to Ipswich and referee Ipswich and Southampton. Yeah. So you don't get players doing that. You don't get players driving themselves all over the country to the games. They're driven there. So
that was one of my questions about the professionalism, because coming from if you couldn't tell, I'm American, and coming from an American sports context, referees are quite highly paid, right, because of the important position that they have in the game, and to try to prevent outside influence. One of my side question that I don't really expect you to answer was, like, has anybody ever approached you with brown envelopes and trying to influence decisions? But it genuinely, right, like the amount of money that you make being a referee, I was flabbergasted when I saw how much the referees are making, right? Like, how can you attract people to this high pressure, super stressful field where, like you said, they're having to drive across the country every weekend, and essentially they are high performance athletes because they have to be able to run further than the players for 90 minutes, but you have them on these like pretty menial wages, right? Like how much do you think that that obviously there's the pressure, there's the intensity from players, there's all the flack that you get from all the decisions, but like if you're a young person who loves the game and would consider being a referee, and then you look at what you have to take versus how much you make, like how much do you think that impacts referees and being able to promote them through the leagues?
Yeah, listen, look, I mean, obviously it's everybody's dream or goal. Every young referee. I mean, when I quit playing semi-professional football and went into refereeing, I never thought I would make it as high as I did and as quick as I did. But you don't really think of the money situation when you're coming up through through the leagues and as you get your promotion. So it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of what would you say? I mean, obviously your family have got to be with you and support you, because obviously it takes over your life. It really does take over your life. And going on to brown envelopes, no one should ever question the integrity of a referee, because English referees are at the forefront of integrity. And I mean, only recently, I think yesterday I was reading that the Spanish president of the Liga have requested that can they ferry in English referees to referee their games. Yeah. But having seen some of the Spanish referees that referee my team out in Spain, the government of the world wants some English referees out and all.
Yeah, Florentino Perez has asked for it. Real Madrid president has asked for it. He said, can we have the English referees come over?
But you'd only get those. You'd only have to have those that were UEFA, on the FIFA UEFA list. But that, in theory, that will never happen. That will never happen.
I was sorry. I was gonna say I always thought the rise of like the issues that people have been having with the officials, here and wherever, has coincided with the rise of social media and Twitter and all this stuff, and everything is instant now. Like whereas the next back in the day, you'd have to wait for the papers to come out to kind of rip some kind of a fish. Now, I mean, 30 seconds after it happens, there's posts on Twitter and X and all this stuff. But I think that's kind of been something that's hasn't helped, I guess, as well, right?
Yeah, listen, I mean, when I was on the list, I never social media was about. I mean, I wasn't on social media. I didn't join social media until after I retired, and even now I'm still receiving abuse for my opinions. It's unbelievable. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I made a pact when I was refereeing. I never read newspapers. I never read any social media things. I just went out and refereed my game. And if I had an indifferent performance, or I made one or two, or made a massive key match error, I would then go back and watch the video and learn from it. And people think that referees don't care. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I mean, listen, I love football. I was Jose Mourinho described me as the 23rd player because I was a referee's man, and that's how I was described. But I was always, if I got a decision wrong, it would eat at me. I mean, because you get in your car and you're driving home after a game, and you're thinking about that game, you're thinking about a decision, perhaps, because if you make a mistake or a key match error in the first half, you know about it. You know about it when you're walking off that pitch. You know about it at half time. And you've got to put it out of your mind and go out there and be mentally tough and mentally strong. If you're not mentally tough at the highest level, you won't survive. You won't survive. And obviously, after the game, your manager comes into your dressing room and he's not happy, and you invite him in. And I always used to say, what went on in my dressing room. And there was a few conversations that went on in my dressing room that obviously I can't reveal, and the language spoken. But what went on in my dressing room stayed in my dressing room. It didn't go anywhere else. And so you're driving home and you're thinking about that, and your stomach's in knots, and you get home and your family suffer because you don't want you can't eat, you don't speak to your you don't speak to your wife, you don't speak to your children, because you're still in that zone, because you're thinking about your performance, you're thinking about the game, and then you can't you find it hard to sleep because you're thinking about it, and the next day you're thinking about it, and then you get panned by your coach and your match assessor. That makes it even worse. And then come Monday, Tuesday, then you park it and you're moving on. You're looking forward to your next game. So, you're always thinking and regarding your match from the previous weekend. And Michael will be doing the same. He'll be looking at that and he'll realise, oh, perhaps I've got that wrong. But as I said, we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and they're by the grace of God. But I was just going to say,
You get home at night, and like I said, you go through all your process. You're not spoke to your family. You're not eating stuff, and then you think, right, I'm going to chill out and relax. You turn Match of the Day on, and the first thing is Gary Lineker says, "What's Mark Halsey done here?"
Yeah. I'm sitting there with a glass of whiskey and a Smith and Wesson at my head.
Yeah. I mean, it's so, you mentioned about like the assessor and stuff like that, Mark. Because one question,
I've had many rows with an assessor in my dressing room.
Yeah. Look, one thing what a lot of people are thinking of is we have obviously got some good referees and some don't seem to be very good. And I mean, I like Tim Robinson. I think Tim Robinson's a great referee. He's one of them who I never. Is it Tim or Tony Robinson? Tim. He never seems to have any trouble. You don't realise that he's there. He's one of them where I think he silently just gets on with it. And I was just thinking around, should there be? You mentioned assessors. Should there be like an independent performance management of all officials every game, like a league table, a scoring table, and say, look, you need to go and do this, you need to do this, or you're still in the elite bracket, and constantly trying to improve them, because if once you're in the list, you're in the list, and the punishment for making a wrong decision is just being given a game with a team lower down the table. That's not really a punishment, is it?
No. Listen, they do have a merit list. They do have a merit table on the select group 1, select group 2. They have evaluations. They don't have assessors going there now. League 1 and 2 do have assessors, so they do go by. The clubs do mark the referees as well, and they do have a merit list.
Okay.
So it all depends on if your face fits.
Right. I mean, the other thing what strikes me is I never ever saw this when I was watching football when I was younger. I mean, one thing what I said the other day, which someone was flabbergasted at. I said, I can remember turning on Big Match on the TV, and it'll run you through the starting 11 teams on the TV, and it'll say, today's referee is Yuri Rennie from Sheffield. You don't get that anymore. We don't tell you who the referee is and where they're from. That doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen anymore.
No, it doesn't.
And I can never remember ever hearing. I know we didn't have social media, but we had newspapers, we had teletext, we had CFAX or whatever. But I can never remember.
You're going back a few years.
Yeah. I can never remember anyone saying, for example, I'll use yourself. Mark Halsey can't referee QPR because he's a QPR fan. Now, it seems he's every other week. Peter Banks can't do Liverpool. Jared Gillett can't do Liverpool because he's a Liverpool fan. But that then, I don't mind the fact that they've come out and said, look, I'm a Liverpool fan, I can't referee him, done. But should they then be allowed to referee teams what are in direct competition with the team what they are, team that they support? Because I was at Villa Park last year, right? And Jared Gillett, Liverpool fan, gave 2 horrendous decisions. And I know for a fact, I know why I give one of them. Because he knew that there wasn't, if VAR didn't have enough evidence to overturn it, it stands with a referee's decision. And I'll stand by that. I know it's conspiracy theory, but I'll stand by it. That disallowed goal, he could not see that Havertz had handballed it. Neither could the linesman, because they had to look through 4 players and posts. And then he determined that Havertz scored it when it was actually Nketiah what touched it in. But that's the end of it. But he knew if he gave handball, it wouldn't be overturned. That's what I believe. But I just want to. It seems that we get more and more of these club allegiances to referees. That's what it seems like,
Well, I mean, listen. You look at Anthony Taylor. He lives a couple of miles from Manchester United, Manchester City.
Yeah. Paul Tierney, Manchester.
Paul Tierney's Wigan.
Wigan,
He's Wigan. I mean, when I was on the list, I trained full time at Bolton Wanderers, and when Bolton Wanderers were in that relegation zone, they never appointed me to teams in and around that area. They never appointed me to teams that Bolton Wanderers could be in conflict with. So it's just a little bit of common sense, really. Just look at. I mean, some of the appointing you have to wonder at times about the way they appoint.
I mean, even if Michael Oliver, right? Because he's a Newcastle fan, that red card for Lewis-Skelly meant that he was going to miss the Newcastle semi-final, right? A bit of a stretch.
Yeah, but you don't listen. That
Yeah.
doesn't. I mean, that doesn't come into you to help. I mean, I remember many years ago refereeing Arsenal Man United at Highbury, and I sent off Campbell. So
I
Campbell,
can remember.
yeah,
Mark,
so,
I can remember.
yeah. See, and I sent him off, and after the game, Pat Rice and himself come in and said, "Do you realise, you only sent him off because he's going to miss the cup final?" Well, that didn't even come into my head that he was going to miss a cup final. Right? You just go out, you referee what's in front of you, and you give what you see.
If you had VAR in that game, Mark, would you have overturned? Would you think it had been overturned? Do you think it was still a red card?
No, it wouldn't have been overturned.
Do you think it was still a red?
Yeah, absolutely.
When he put his hand out on.
Yeah, but it's the corner of his. It's the corner of his elbow. And when you're going like that, that's a weapon. That's a weapon.
Yeah.
If he goes like that, then you can, with his palms down, you could say reckless use of the arm. But when you're going up for a challenge and you're out like that, and you come back and you draw it back and your fists are clenched and you're going like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
potentially. I get that.
When you talk about sorry, Nigel. When you talk about players and managers coming into the dressing room after, without specifics, of course, were there times when you would say, "I made the wrong call," or and admitted it in that way to the manager and or the player that was coming calling?
Absolutely. I mean, I always believe in honesty, and if I made an error, I would say so. I mean, I remember missing an awful challenge at Wigan, Newcastle. I think it was Herrera for playing for Newcastle, and it looked like that McManaman got the ball. No one said anything. It was just like the ball. McManaman's come through. It looks like, and the ball's gone the same way as he's sort of come through with the challenge, and so no one said anything. We just got on with it and then stopped the game because obviously he was injured. But when everybody had seen the replay and everyone went ballistic. And I always remember Alan Pardew, coming off. Had a massive go at me, massive. And obviously coming off at half time, I was told it was an horrendous challenge, and you could say it was 2 red cards. I was very disappointed, disappointed that I missed that. But as the incident happened, a player ran straight in front of me, and obviously I didn't see it because the player went as that challenge come in. The player blocked my view. Yeah, listen, that's why I said I'd love to have VAR. Then because that definitely VAR would have got involved in that. So it does eat you. So. But as I say, you can only referee what's in front of you. And as I say, we do make errors. I made errors, but I always engage with the players. I always engage with the players. I always remember refereeing Patrick Vieira many times, and I can't say it as he said it, but he can't be said. I just love it when you referee, Mark. That's what he said. I just love it when you referee because he knows he can use shop floor language at me, and I'll use it back. And that's that, and that's what you've got to give as good as you get, and the players respect you for that. Not only that, the players respect you for your accuracy and your decision making, and it's all about reading the game, anticipating play, and managing and engaging with the players. We don't see that in today's referees. Refereeing is an art, not a science. We don't see that today.
Go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say, I had a question about how the games in Europe. The UEFA Champions League, Europa League, whatever, are officiated as compared to the Premier League. I know they're you have different officials coming in from all these different leagues and everything. I mean, is there kind of any different directives from the organizations to officiate differently, or is it just kind of the way you see it?
But obviously. Roberto Rossetti has, obviously he's in charge of the UEFA referees, and they have their meetings where they all fly out. The group 1 referees that referee on the Champions League, they all go out and meet in a country. And, they speak about different things, handballs, challenges, and what they're gonna what's their take on it and what they want them to do. But what you got to remember is that UEFA have got the best referees, the top 3 referees from each European league from around Europe. Yep. So it's only those referees that go out and referee those Champions League games. You've got to be in the top group to go and referee those Champions League games. So what you got to remember is all these guys that are in the Champions League are the best in their country, and that's why I think we see quality refereeing week in, week out in the Champions League and Europa League. Some of them do referee in the Europa League as well.
Yeah.
So circling back to VAR, in the NFL they have one central place for the referee review, right? So every single call that goes for review, whether it's a coach's challenge, and maybe that's an interesting point that we can bring up real quickly is, would you like to see a coach's challenge so that it maybe it's one per half or just one for the game where the coach can make a signal to the fourth official and you're forced to go to the screen for it?
No, I think that the protocol is good at the moment as it is for football or soccer, as you would say in where you're from. It's the personnel. I mean, for me, it's not difficult. The protocol for VAR is not difficult. It's not difficult. It's the training and education. I mean, in the Premier League, we see week in, week out the inconsistencies of handballs, penalties that are given, red cards that are given. If you look at one week, you'll get where there's a subjective decision, you'll get VAR recommending a view. And that same incident the following week, it won't be. And the thing I have is, you look at, is that a clear and obvious error? And most probably 85% of the time, that's not clear and obvious error. That's subjective. So why is VAR getting involved? There's many times that I'm looking, I say, what are VAR getting involved in that for? Why are they getting involved? Shouldn't be getting involved. And you look at some. I mean, for me, one of the biggest things for me is handball, and you look at the handball law. For me, the handball law is simple. Was it a deliberate movement of the arm towards the ball? Did he make himself unnaturally bigger and stop that ball going through? Now, and also a big thing for me is our current referees don't know what's unnatural and natural in certain phases of play. That's the big thing for me. They ain't got a clue, because you could have a fullback steaming down, getting in the box. His arms are going like a good one. So his arms like that, the ball comes across and it hits it. And they give a penalty or they recommend a review. But his arm's in a natural position. He's not moved his arm towards the ball. But because his arm's up, that's in a natural position because he's in a running motion. Yeah. So that's a massive bugbear for me, is about, a deliberate handball or arms in an unnatural, natural position for certain phases of play. And our referees,
like when you jump,
and that is about knowing the game of football. It's not always about the laws of the game, and that's the problem we've got with our referees.
It's funny you mentioned about the running motion, because the other one what I've got with the running motion is when they're stretching. When they're stretching to try and put a block in, naturally your arm will go out. Yeah, your arm will naturally go out. Yeah. If it hits the arm, that's not your fault. You've not put it there on purpose.
You're there for balance. You're there for balance.
Yeah. As any of the referees as Howard Webb tried running and then sliding with his arms by his side like that.
No. Yeah. And that's where I come on to about the training and education of our and the coaching of our referees, in certain phases of play.
So it's Matt mentioned about the NFL thing. You mentioned about VAR, Mark, and this. So I had an idea. I've put it on X loads of times. My idea was that we borrow from the NFL, and I agree that the process maybe is right. But what I suggest is that we have an independent VAR who aren't they're not part of a ref, because you hear it when they do the audio. Oh yeah, tails good of a
that's ridiculous. That's nonsense.
Ridiculous.
It's not professional. I've always advocated that we should have a separate panel of VAR. They should be non-active, retired referees or a few ex-players that have genuine, thorough knowledge of the law, because you need to have thorough knowledge of the law. And you have your active referees and you have your non-active VAR, because we have a refereeing on a Saturday, say up in Liverpool, then he's got to get himself all the way down to be VAR on a Sunday.
Ridiculous.
That's nonsense. Or you have a refereeing on a Saturday, and then he's got to go and get all the way up wherever he is and be fourth official on the Sunday.
And it's unfair also.
How can you referee a game on a Saturday and then go and be fourth official on a Sunday, and the referee comes off 5 minutes into the game.
Yeah. Well, this is what my suggestion before, what I put out, it was in like October, November time. And I said, look, we should have a central VAR, which is independent. They don't referee games. They just do VAR. Couple of ex-players, couple of proper referees, and that's all they do. And every single match goes to that VAR room, bit like the NFL, of central.
For me, they go to the ground with the referees because they're part of the team, and they sit in that truck. They're in that TV truck outside in the car park.
That's a great idea, Mark. So
and then they're part of the team.
Hey, we're evolving this. Me and you need to go and get a meeting with Howard. So we're evolving this idea now.
I'm not sure Howard would want to be talking to me what I'll be coming out with. So
my other suggestion was, because obviously you look at a referee's locations, it is very Manchester centric, very northwest centric. I mean, I think yourself was the last London referee.
I moved up to Bolton, northwest.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. But there's some in Bristol, isn't there? Andy Madley and that in Bristol.
They're Yorkshire, Wakefield.
Who's the ones in Bristol? There's some in Bristol, isn't there?
There ain't none.
Is it not? Simon Hooper.
Who's Swindon? Swindon.
That's it. Swindon. Yeah. But yeah. So what I'm going to say is, what we should have. I mean, I live in the Midlands now. Could we not be, say, each county FA has to put forward two or three referees and 2 or 3 assistant referees, each county FA, and they are an officiating team, and they work constantly together. So they're not split up all the time. So they work officiating team
with that same referee all the time.
Correct.
So they get to know each other. They get to know the way they think, the way they they work, and that's why I say they should go to the ground and be involved in the team. Go to the hotel, then go to the ground, then they go to the truck when they start getting changed. Listen. Long as they, long as you've got a really good knowledge of the law, for me, I don't think it has to be a referee that sits in that VAR, but you have to have excellent knowledge of law.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is that it's a different skill set, right? Like your training is to be an on-field referee, right? Yeah. You've been trained and you have experience being on the field, managing players, managing these tense situations, right? Managing the managers, and sitting behind the screen and watching replays is a different skill set, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and also, you look at VAR now, and I mean, I think was it Southampton, Newcastle, there was a penalty.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Now, if you're looking at an incident for 3 minutes, you will find whatever you want to find in an incident. And if you want to find a penalty, you'll find a penalty. But if you're taking 3 minutes, it's not a clear and obvious error. If you can't tell within the first or second viewing, I watch TV and I go, oh, that's a penalty. Absolutely nailed on. That should all it should take. If you're going, I've got to look at that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 views. It's not clear and obvious. It's not a penalty. Get on with the game.
This is part of my plan. So we've got officiating teams who work together and travel around together, and it's perfect. So, and we've got a bigger pool. We're all from around the country. Each county FA sent their people, and they're the elite of elite, and we can move them up and down. My other one was about having a time limit on VAR. So I've been present at 2 games where I've waited for an eternity. The first one was Arsenal against Brighton, and they lost 2-1 on the day in the fighting for 5th, and they gave offside to Gabriel Martinelli. It took 7.5 minutes to decide that he was offside by a toenail, and disallowed our goal before half time. And the other one, I was at Manchester United when Arsenal lost 3-1, and Paul Tierney watched Martin Ødegaard tackle Christian Eriksen 18 times on the VAR monitor before he decided it was a foul. If you can't see it in the first instance that it's a foul, it's not a foul. And it weren't a foul. We later came out and said we got that wrong. It was definitely a foul. But if you've got to watch it, you just said, if you've got to watch it over and over again, you're looking for something what's not there.
It's not clear and obvious. It's not clear and obvious.
I would say, should there be a 30-second, 45-second, 1 minute?
No, not 45. I mean, listen, obviously we need semi-automated offsides as well. That's got to come in. But I think we should look at 30 seconds maximum.
Yeah.
If you can't tell within 30 seconds, move on.
Brilliant. That's it's I think there's a lot of common sense things.
And also what you've got to remember is since VAR's come into our game, the protocol has never changed.
Yeah.
So VAR's been in several years now?
Was it 2019 it came in?
Was it something like So the protocol has never changed.
So as a referee, Mark, what do you feel about like other technologies, right? Because you just mentioned semi-automated offside, right? That's one example. I think let's start there. Is that a technology that you would welcome and that you wish you would have had?
Yeah, I think. Listen, when we moved into that field with obviously the goal line technology is superb. That's been good. I think VAR, if it's used correctly, it aids the game, and also I think the fans are just as important as anybody else. We should be hearing the conversation between VAR and the referee, so everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows what's going on. You may not agree with it, but you respect how they come to that decision. You know, obviously on the big screen, so everybody can see what's going on and understand why they give that decision. So that's for me.
I want to say we do it in rugby. You can hear it. You can hear the TMO, and it's perfect. But if you hear the conversation between a TMO and the match official, that is so professional. Yeah. Whereas we've got tail, like I said, tails or ollie and stuff like that. It's just
they've got to cut that out. Too much chit chat. You're not there to protect your mates. You're there to do the job and to come to the right decision. Yeah.
So that in terms of the technology.
Going back to what you said, I think obviously goal line technology, and I think once we get into automated offsides, because that will speed up the process of VR as well. So I think that will be good. We see it in the Champions League. Doesn't take long, does it? So and I think that's good.
Yeah.
What about the using the goal line technology for the rest of the field, right? Because it's just a matter of camera angles. We had that goal, Newcastle Arsenal, right, where it was hard to tell whether the ball had went out. The linesman couldn't see across the goalpost, right? Yeah. So it's in technology speaking, right? It's a matter of adding more cameras that have more angles.
Yeah, it is, and obviously for the offsides as well, we've got to make sure that we get the cameras that are parallel to that offside decision. And if it means getting more cameras, the money's awash in the Premier League. So if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do, because it's a multi-billion-pound business.
Yeah. I agree. I think we kind of, a lot of the time what we do is there's an excuse made because they think, it's too hard for us to do that, but it's not. It's just that they can't be bothered to project manage it. I don't think half the time, and the ball thing. The ball one's a big one. The semi-automated offside one is a big one. They couldn't get Nike. Couldn't get the technology to do the ball. So they've got to change the ball supply to Puma in a year and a half's time.
Or Adidas, they do it for the Champions League.
I think they've signed with Puma, haven't they? They've signed with Puma.
They signed with Puma. That's Man City sponsors.
For the 26-27 season, it's Puma.
Okay.
I mean, it's why didn't we just go out and just say, Adidas, can you sell us the technology? We've got all this money from the TV rights. We'll pay you $500 million. Just give us it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Even the implementation of the current thing, it's like, listen, I'm not an expert, but I've managed a few projects in my day, and I don't think it takes. When did they agree for the semi-automated technology? You're telling me it takes a year and a half to put those cameras up in 20 stadiums?
It's nonsense. When they said that in the beginning of the season they're going to be in by October, November, I'm thinking, hang on, you cannot bring a semi-automated offside system in, halfway or a quarter way through to the season. You've got to it's got to be done at the start, not halfway through a season.
Because how many wrong decisions get made before you've now got to change your rules in important games? Which leads me on to it's last question.
Sorry,
I've got.
There's another yellow card. It's the laws. Okay.
The laws. Okay, laws. I've seen the red card on the table. So I'm a bit worried now. But But yeah, it just leads. Last question I had obviously was being a referee, and I know that you've done some huge matches. I mean, I'm quite lucky. I've been to a lot of matches where you've been a referee, and I know how big them games are. Does your approach change to like if you in our days, Arsenal, Man United, Highbury or Old Trafford? Did your approach change into how you might manage that game compared to if you were doing, I don't know, Bradford City versus Swindon?
Listen, I used to treat every game the same. Every game was a massive game to me, and I went out with the same. And it's not about me. It's about the 22 players on the field of play and the fans coming to see a good game of football. If I could stay out of it, that suited me. And I always found that when I went down the leagues, you were under more pressure. It become a potential banana skin because all the fans know that you're a Premier League referee.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get them shouting, "You don't know what you're doing, Premier League. You're having a laugh." You know what I mean? So I didn't want to get all that. So, but no, listen, I went out there and I treated every game the same.
I mean,
I treated every game as though it's my last because I could always get removed or get sacked for poor performances. So, I always treated every game as as a cup final.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's just obviously for teams the pressure ramps up on them big games. So I just wondered if the pressure ramped up for the efficiency.
You just when you blew that whistle. You just wanted to make sure that when you start the game, that first decision you gave, you wanted to make sure it was right. Whether it be a small corner or goal kick or a throw, you just once you knew you got that right, you sort of you hold your confidence. All about whatever we do in life is all about confidence, and refereeing is no different. Different.
And at half time, when you refereed at Old Trafford at half time, did Ferguson used to come in and give you a different watch to wear so it went a bit longer at the end?
No, he never, never. He come in. He used to come in and say, "Mark, if you carry on, there's a nice glass of red wine for you in the office."
Brilliant.
Only joking.
Do you miss it now? Do you miss doing the games now at that level?
Yeah. Listen, I missed the banter with the players. When I retired, I think if I had Keith Hackett as my manager, I think I would have carried on most probably 1 or 2 more years. He would have looked after me. I'm not going to mention what I thought about the manager that took over from him. But I think had he stayed on, I would have carried on refereeing. I feel that I was sort of pushed out of refereeing. Let's put it that way, pushed away. But yeah, listen, I missed the banter. I still think even now. I mean, I do still do a bit of refereeing out in Spain, and I still think now I could go out and referee a football match. Fitness, with using my experience.
Yeah,
using my experience.
But that actually brings me into one of the things that somebody else had mentioned that I saw, which was how the referees on the continent are positioned differently to the Premier League referees, particularly when it comes to making calls. So what I've noticed in the Champions League, for example, and maybe that's a directive, is the referee will make a call and then back away from the situation. So they give the yellow card and they retreat, right? Whereas what I've seen more often in the Premier League is either the referee's staying put or they're running into the situation when they're giving a card. Is that something that you're thinking about, or it just happens naturally?
No, I think that just happens. I think that just happens naturally. I mean, I have to say that's not come across to me, Matt. I've not sort of noticed that, to be honest. I think sometimes the way we administer a caution, I think it upsets some of the players with the arrogance that comes across from referees when they just produce that yellow card. No, I think that's just down to the referee himself. Now, as for positioning is just solely down to referees. I don't think you can comment. The only time I think you can comment about a referee's positioning if he gets a big decision wrong, and then you analyse his positioning. Where was he? Where should he have been? Should have been in that right place. Should have got wider. Did he anticipate play? Did he read the game to get there so that he was already there? Was he ball watching? So yeah, listen, it's all down to individual referees where they stand. The question comes in then if he gets a big decision wrong.
So I think that we need to have you on more, Mark. So I think you could be a regular ref watch.
Okay, well, yeah. Listen, listen. If we want to have a ref watch every week, I want paying.
Hey, I'm sure that the Supreme Commander here can sort you out for a ref watch.
We get some of
Well,
this.
listen, what's the problem? There's no harm in doing perhaps looking at that, doing a ref watch every week. It's something that you want to do. Let me know.
Mark, that's fantastic. And do you know what? You've been a fantastic guest for us there. And I followed you on it. I followed you on X for ages.
So what are you then? What are you on Twitter then, Matt? Sorry, Nigel.
I'm here at Nigel_B_golf. So we follow each other.
Do I follow you?
Yeah.
Right,
And I've like.
So it's you that's giving me all that abuse, is it?
No, I'm going to give you.
Here we go. Get off. Time to go. Actually, I'm refereeing this Sunday, so I'm going. Yeah, doing the league. I'm doing refereeing the league selection team.
Nice.
Because I'm a manager now. I run a team out here as well.
Hey.
So if you follow our team, Orihuela Costa Vetrianos.
Whereabouts is it, Mark?
It's on the Costa Blanca, Orihuela Costa.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so not far from just down the road from Torrevieja.
Oh.
So if you go onto Facebook and follow our Orihuela Costa Vetrianos.
Nice. Right, we'll be on
that. There's never a dull moment, I tell you, in our games.
so we'll leave you to tell us though. How impressed are you with Marta Cifuentes then? He's turned you around, hasn't he?
Listen, I mean, before Christmas when we were bottom of the league, I'm thinking we need a change. Well, what on earth is going on? But I mean, since then he's just turned it around. It's been fantastic. I mean, 'cause I watch every game. I watch every game out here. I don't sit there with my blue and white hoop shirt on. Don't miss a game. But we still, we play Sheffield Wednesday Saturday, but we never do well against Sheffield Wednesday. We never ever play well against them. But we still need to strengthen. So I'm hoping we strengthen before the deadline's up because. It's not a lot. It's tough. It's tough in that championship, and there's not a lot of points difference between the top, the bottom three and the top half.
Yeah, I mean, you've missed. You got that young lad, haven't you? He's hardly played, has he? Dembele is decent, isn't he, as well?
He's been out injured. Yeah,
and got him on loan, and he couldn't play. So yeah, it's. Like I said, I think Cifuentes has done an unreal job.
He's done. I just hope no one poaches him. That's all.
Well, you and Wednesday look like you could lose your managers because he's done well. Danny Roll as well, hasn't he?
So yeah, absolutely.
He's another one. But no, you've been fantastic today, Mark. Honestly, and I'm sure the Supreme Commander on Rant Sports can get you get the ref watch.
Listen, I'm not like Dermot Garrett that sits on the fence and says nothing.
Hey, he must have been sweating on Saturday night. He must have been sweating, thinking, "Oh God, what's going to happen on Monday?"
I'm sure he reads my articles in the newspaper and goes from that on things like that.
Well, thanks a ton, Mark. It was awesome to have you on. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hopefully, we can have you on again soon.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Take care. All
Cheers,
the best,
mate.
guys.
Cheers.
All the best.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.
Wow, what a guest, man. What a guest. What a get, Nigel. Good work there, buddy.
And like I said, if he's happy to do a ref watch, we could have that as a weekly thing now. But he wants paying.
Yeah, I got you. We'll take care. We can probably take care of that. Well, after this, we all follow pod is going to blow up. They're going to be everywhere. So all over the internet. So people be throwing money at us now.
Well, let's take a few minutes to continue on with the format now that we've moved Mark on, and let's look at the table. Maybe we can do a short little look at the table and look at this week's matches. Yes, sir. So say the gap continues at the top. Liverpool 6 points in front of Arsenal. Then you have Forest on 44 points after their loss to Bournemouth. Man City moving up back into the Champions League spots. but even on points with Newcastle. Chelsea and Bournemouth on 40. Aston Villa, Brighton, and Fulham rounding out the top 10. Then you have Brentford, Man United moving up to 12th place after their win this past weekend. Crystal Palace, West Ham, and Spurs. Before you have Everton and Leicester right above the drop zone. Moving into the relegation teams, we have Wolves, Ipswich, and Southampton. So, Nigel, maybe let's do one team, one table analysis of one team.
Okay. Tottenham. Spurs have got there's only Southampton who've got a worse current form record than Spurs. I know that it shows that Wolves have only got one draw in their last 5, but Wolves have actually got a couple of wins before that as well. So if I'm Spurs and I've lost 13 games already this season, 13, yeah,
That's brutal.
sayonara, they are in a relegation battle because where's their next win coming from? And the worst thing is they've still got all these players out injured, and even when they didn't have them injured, they were still losing games. That had frightened me if I was a Spurs fan. I read a stat the other day that they won 9 Premier League games in 9 months. That's a shocker. If they don't win, if they don't win, they're not playing this month now. They're playing next month. So they won 9 games in 10 months now because they don't play another Premier League game this week.
Playing
before
Sunday,
the end of January.
February 2nd. Yep.
Yeah, so they'll have won 9 games in 10 months in the Premier League. I mean, yeah, that's me. That's the one team.
And it doesn't get any easier for them, as we've discussed on the show previously. But, it's always fun to relitigate the sadness of other teams. Spurs have their Europa League game, and then they go to Brentford this weekend. They go to Liverpool in the Cup. They go to Aston Villa in the FA Cup, and then they host Man United. It's going to be and then after that they go to Ipswich, which has not been an easy place to get results. They have Man City and Bournemouth after that.
They don't have any players. Like, that's the problem. I mean, they don't have enough healthy players right now. But like, Nigel said, they weren't winning before, but it's not going to get better anytime soon. They're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way. It's hard to say that they're not in a relegation fight. Honestly, when you're at that place, and it's not only about where you're on the table. Of course, it's about the form that you're in, right? And it doesn't seem like they are in a position to right the ship. So this was the other thing. We had the new Champions League format, so we have an idea of who teams will be playing against. So, for example, Arsenal will play one of Feyenoord, Juventus, Milan, or PSV in the round of 16.
Yep.
Manchester City will play either Bayern or Real Madrid in the round of 32, which is, it's just crazy that this is where this competition is. And with the new format, right, you have one of those teams, only one of those teams is going to make it to the quarterfinals, right?
Yeah.
So it's that the new format and getting into the top 8 was so important, and you've had some massive teams that weren't able to achieve that. But yeah, let's look at match week 24. We have some interesting games. I think you would say that the match of the weekend is obviously the Arsenal Man City game, but I think equally you could say that the match of the week is Bournemouth hosting Liverpool. Sean, I know you'll have a different perspective on which matches you're looking forward to. Which one is catching your eye?
Yeah, I think that Wolves Aston Villa match will be interesting. Obviously, Aston Villa, qualifying, they lost John Duran. Now Ollie Watkins is going to stay. That's the 12:30. But I always like to look at those, the 3 p.m. kickoffs, and you got Everton, Leicester, and Ipswich, Southampton. There, the two 10 a.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. kickoffs over there. That I think both those games could be pretty interesting as far as the bottom of the table. Everton, you look at them now, 23 points. They're starting, 2 wins in a row. They're starting to climb. David Moyes, the savior, is back. I think they're going to be. I don't think by the time we get to March 1st or March 15th, they'll be anywhere near the relegation zone. The squad is too good. You figured they were going to start winning some games, but for Leicester, Wolves, Ipswich, Southampton now. Leicester, Wolves, Ipswich, 17, 16, 16 points. Probably, if we think Tottenham finds a way to stay out of it, maybe they don't, but maybe they do. One of those teams is probably going to stay up there. One of those teams is definitely going to stay up because Southampton is definitely going down. Which one is it going to be? Can Leicester get going here? Big win last week. Wolves have been atrocious after that pretty good start under the new manager. Ipswich, kind of the same thing. I mean, Ipswich has been a little bit unlucky in some matches. They've been blown out in some matches. I just think those games going forward, February, March, are going to be the ones that are important to watch.
Definitely got some big ones on the register. Nigel, let's talk Bournemouth, Liverpool. We don't have Ben here to geek out about the Bournemouth offensive players, but I'll take your geeking out as a replacement.
I actually think that this is an harder game for Liverpool than what they think. I know we rested some players midweek, but sometimes that can backfire. Players like playing, and you don't want to break up that thing. They just lost a game. They've lost a game. No matter what we say, oh yeah, it went as first team. You've just lost in the Champions League. You've lost a game, so that unbeaten streak's gone. Yeah, so players like playing, and you need to keep them going. And I just think that Bournemouth are in a hot streak at the moment. They've got about 11 players out injured, but some of us had Django Wautara in their fantasy team, right? And they have done for a long time, and Milos Kerkez. And I think that you look at their young core, their explosive young core, I think they're going to cause Liverpool problems. Semenyo, Kluivert, Ouattara, Tyler Adams, Dean Ison, Milos Kerkez, Zabanya. I think they are so athletic all around the pitch with their team, what they've got currently.
What do you think about a Bournemouth double chance?
Bournemouth double chance is a great shout. And it's just like, and I was just going to say my other one was Wolves double chance. And the reason why I'm going to say Wolves double chance is Aston Villa, after 8 Champions League games this season, well, after 7, because this is the
terrible after that.
7 Champions League games, won 1, drawn 2, lost 4.
Yep, they've been terrible, and lately.
Yeah,
I have a question for both of you. When you look at Liverpool's upcoming schedule, in the league, Bournemouth, Everton away, always a tough match. Wolves at home, Man City away, Newcastle, Aston Villa. After they play Southampton, are they going to start to fall back towards?
Yeah, I think we're in for a prime Barclays moment. Genuinely, I think we're in for prime Barclays. But Newcastle, they might start falling back, but other teams have got to catch up to them. So Arsenal have to win on Sunday against City. They've got to win on Sunday because Mikel said it early on. We have to be ready for if Liverpool fall. We've got to be there, and so they've got to win on Sunday. So if Liverpool have a prime Barclays, which I think they will do, I think Slot's going to be on the smock and a pancake because he's going to be worrying what's going on. I just think that Arsenal have got to be there. They've got to be there. And one way that they can be there, beat City on Sunday, sign someone, and get a bit of a morale boost. Saka's going to be back soon.
Ultimately, and I've said it on this podcast before, is that Liverpool had a great run of form. They were scoring goals. They were getting results, but they weren't outperforming last year's results. right? They had favorable fixtures, they had home fixtures, and they had everybody healthy, right? And I don't wish injuries upon anybody. That I'm not that guy, but if they do pick up an injury or even a knock and a player's out for a game or two, and then you're playing these rough away games, like you said, going to Aston Villa, going to Everton, going to Man City, even with Everton, right? Like Everton's got a new manager. I'm not saying Everton's necessarily going to win, but if they're dropping points there, then that's everybody's saying, oh, the gap is 9 points. The gap is 9 points. It's not 9 points until you have those points on the board. So I definitely think down the stretch, and like we said before, is like be in the room, right? Be in the conversation, be close enough that if Liverpool do have a bad result, that you have the ability to capitalize on it. So I appreciate you guys for jumping on today. A great episode. See you next week. Like, comment, subscribe. Give us feedback for Mark. If you have any questions for Mark for next time we have him on, throw it in the comments.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nigel.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.